Okay, well, hi everyone. Thank you very much for watching. And today I have a very, very special guest I've been looking forward to interview for a long time. He has an incredibly inspirational story. This man is Dan Chapman, current undefeated world champion in bare knuckle boxing. Additionally, had a stellar amateur boxing career with the gloves on, including 10 Welsh titles, senior title, British titles, was part of the Team GB squad going towards the Olympics, won a gold medal at the Commonwealth Youth Games, and probably a lot more. I fought some of the best around as an amateur as well before an accident tragically at the time took his life in a very different direction. But Dan has not only made good of that, but he has excelled in pretty much the toughest sport in the world, bare knuckle boxing, to be the undefeated world champion. So today we're going to be hearing about his story. I also need to mention, it almost slipped my mind, Dan is also the owner of the DC Boxing Academy as well. There's a lot of training, coaching, and giving back to the next generation as well. So we'll find out more about that. But Chab, I just want to say a big thanks for coming on, by the way, just to get that in there. Thank you for making the time.
Absolutely welcome, Liam. I always see at the boxing shows, and I can see that you're obsessed like boxing, like I am. So it's really good to do a podcast with you today, a little interview.
Thank you, mate. That means a lot. That means a lot. And yeah, definitely obsessed is the right word, but I love it, and I know you do as well. So
Yeah.
brilliant. So obviously, we can start with the present day a little bit, and then we can go back in time, because obviously you're coming off a fantastic fight with Sean George. Absolutely incredible war on all levels. I got a lot of respect for Sean as well. Obviously, you're busy with your academy. You've got a lot of things going on. So can you just give the fans a little feel for what your life is like right now in 2021? Obviously you're the world champ as well, so that's going to be a good feeling. But just anything about what your day-to-day life is like with the training, coaching, and what you do, please. That would be great.
Yeah, my main focus is DC Boxing Academy. DC stands for Dan Chapman, and it's academy full of young fighters and seniors, and I run fitness classes in between that, so that's my business. So the more I achieve in my business, the more I can give back to the kids and adults with the amateur boxing. So, my main focus is teaching. I love teaching. That's something that I feel like it's taken me 20 years to build this experience of traveling the whole world with Team Wales and Team GB. And I'd be a silly man not to give back. I was a young lad who come from nothing. I had nothing growing up. So for me, is if I can achieve what I've achieved internationally with on the amateur side, why can't the kids in my local area achieve more and better than me by me providing a fantastic facility, a safe facility with the best coaches and people with the best knowledge. So for me, is I don't want people to take 20 years to learn boxing like I have. I want to break it down and teach it to these kids in months. So it's just. There's teaching and there's telling, isn't it? And it's great in our local area and all over Team Wales. We have many clubs that have been around for 20 odd years, but I want to fast track my kids and get them to be up there with like the English team, the English setup. They're so far advanced. Obviously they got more funding, but again, the knowledge and the coaches in England are just absolutely phenomenal. So we can't be living in the dark ages anymore. We need to be properly up to date with all the methods, with all the training, and breaking the boxing down so the children can understand. As a coach, it's easy to say do this, do that, but when the kids look at you like I can't do anything, well, I can show them. Do you know what I mean? I can break it down and manipulate it and show them how to do it so they can understand. And if they don't understand it, we'll do it until they do. So yeah, I'm very lucky that I had a plan in my head. I wanted to create an environment for people to learn. You know, the old saying as well, I say it a lot, is you can teach a donkey to get fit, but you can't teach a donkey to box. So, you know, for me, it's teaching these young children independence. You know, I'm not going to wipe their ass for them, but when they come to me, it's all technical. If they can't get fit in their own time, then probably boxing isn't a sport for them, because at the end of the day, I teach the technical side of boxing, and they have to do their running and their road work and their strength and conditioning in their own time. You know, that's for me, and then it's 100% learning, it's 100% knowledge. In my classes, I don't want to be spending an hour and a half, 2 hours of just getting kids fit. You know, I'm there to teach them that knowledge. So every class that we do, you know, they gain it from my experiences, you know, putting all the fundamentals in. And the days they're not with me, then they do their fitness training, or they're welcome to come to my fitness classes. So yeah, DC Boxing is in a real good place. We had our first champions in the Box Cup with the held in Sophia Gardens with the WABA, and we're looking forward now to pushing forward to the championships in November. So, you know, absolutely buzzing. And, you know, obviously from my background and my boxing ability and what I've been doing in the last year and a half, you know, winning world titles as bare knuckles, obviously it's attracted and a lot of people to come to my gym. So I'm really good with my social media. You know, I show everything that goes on in DC boxing so everybody can see. And boxing is such a fantastic sport. Even if someone doesn't want to box and get punched in the face, they're more than happy to come to the gym and get involved and be part of that family. Because as you know, Liam, growing up as a young boy, we didn't have a lot in our community. There wasn't a lot going on. So for them to feel that they're attached to a club or something like DC boxing can really change their attitude and their well-being and their mindsets. You know, So I just want to be that impact on the children. You know, so and that's really important to me.
Incredible, absolutely incredible, champ. I mean, I knew that would be a good insight into what you do, but that's already, exceeded the expectations. I think it's wonderful you give back, and obviously massive respect for that. The youth of today need it, and I can imagine one small thing I want to touch on there is, as well as this, I can imagine, youngsters working with a man like yourself who's overcome everything you've overcome, achieved everything you've achieved. There's probably life lessons. I mean, you probably teach these kids about life. They probably learn from, as you said, about mindset and things like that as well, which I think is absolutely wonderful, because obviously not all clubs incorporate that. So that's
No,
why.
well, Liam, I'm really lucky. I built fantastic contracts with the council. I'm working with children who are I've had broken relationships with their parents. I'm working with adults who are going through tough times, who just come out of prison. So I got these people coming to the gym and just being that positive impact for them to say, look, if you want to change, now's the time to change. No, don't dwell in the past. Don't be a victim, because the world will literally chew you up and spit you back out. You know, for me, is just to say, look, we need to move. We need to move forward and put positive people around you. And it does. It's working. You know, I've had some fantastic young children been going through tough times, really tough times, and now the things have dramatically changed in their lifestyle. They are in a good place. They're back in school. Their education is better. You know, they, like you said, being attached to a club like DC Boxing, and they're achieving great things by just a little boxing gym in my state. You know, so yeah, I'm just buzzing. You know, it's only the beginning, so I'm looking forward to keep putting that progress in and putting that effort in with my local community.
Incredible. Well, champ, once again, I mean, it's wonderful work. I'm really glad we got to give that a mention. Now, something to touch on here that this leads me to, before we get to the fights and that side of it, itself, because obviously these days you walk around as a world champion in pretty much the toughest sport in the world, bare knuckle, bone against bone and all this, and obviously your amateur achievements. But your life wasn't always like this, and I mean, as soon as we've started touching on how you give back to the kids and the amazing work that you do with them, not just with boxing, but with life lessons and mindset and community, being involved in something and so on and so on. Obviously, you had a difficult upbringing yourself. Now, you said about not dwelling, and I certainly don't want to dwell on any
No,
negative, but I do want to touch on it to give inspiration. A lot of people will know this story, but some won't, who are watching this or listening to this. So can we just touch on a little bit of any aspect of your upbringing that you'd like to share? Now, I don't really have a really narrow question about this particular event or this particular
yeah,
thing,
it
because
is like
it's a process that you went through. So what would you like to share about that to sort of inspire people who are listening to this, watching this, and so on? please, champ. That'd be great.
Well, Liam, do you know what? Right? It's very strange because only the last year and a half, in the last 2 years, I'd say, people have understood my story because, like I said, I've never dwelled in the past, Liam. I've always moved. I've always just literally just stayed focused, stayed positive, always smiling. But when I was young, things wasn't so good, and I was in a real bad place growing up as a young child. So, when you're a young child, you're vulnerable. You know, you can't really make any major decisions because you're trapped. You're young. You're not at the age when you can make big decisions or get out of certain situations. So, for me, growing up through drugs and alcohol was tough. I seen a lot of bad things. I went through a lot of bad things. My mum was an alcoholic. She was on some really bad drugs. Heroin. Her boyfriend then, who was classed as a stepdad, he was violent and abusive. So I was getting battered every day, with a lot going on in the house, seeing drugs and strange people in my home, and it was tough. And as a young kid, I just knew that one day I'd get out of that dark place. So for me, it was just like, yeah, I'm not in control of what I can do and what I can see right now. But as I get older, there's going to be times where the police will intervene or the social services can intervene and get me out of there. But again, as a being a young kid, you're frightened, you're scared, you're afraid to do anything really. But the only safe place for me was school, and yet things wasn't good in school because of the certain things going on in the background. So, seeing what drugs and alcohol do to people, it was a real eye opener growing up, and I had to mature very soon, at the ages of from 3, 4, 5, in and out of foster care, going from hostels, from different homes, from child residentials, seeing my mum go to jail, and and then as soon as she comes back out of jail, she's back on the drugs. And the hardest thing as a young man growing up, or as a young child I should say, is the broken promises. So I was very lucky as a young kid that I didn't suffer from ADHD. I didn't suffer from attachment issues. I was born with drugs in my system when I was born. So growing up as a young child, I didn't really know if it was going to affect my mental health, my health, my actual health. So yeah, I on the lucky side of that, I was still, my mindset was still good, so I was still positive in bad situations. But yeah, when I reflect on my past, I just feel like there was, as a young child, there wasn't a lot of good, so for me it was doing what I'm doing now, reflecting on my past. It's so important because I know there's so many other children have gone through or going through it right now with drugs and alcohol. And if they can see me setting the example and making life changes and being positive, I'm sure that will reflect on them, and hopefully that will rub off on them to make good decisions. Or do you know what? If adults in today's society have been through that, then they can reflect as well on making better decisions as an adult. Because it's the trauma, that's the scary thing, Liam, is when you're a child, all those bad, you can sometimes handle it really well as a young child, going through drugs and alcohol and seeing all those bad things. But when you get older, as the old saying, it sort of catches up with you. And I've seen that happen to so many adults where they've been through such a tough time, and they've been fine as young children and teenagers, and then when they get the adult, they end up being alcoholics and going down the wrong road. So for me, it's just like, I have to set the example. I have to show people that it doesn't matter what you've been through, that there's always going to be an opportunity for you to get out. And again, that's me emphasizing how important association is, how important the people you bother with, or being attached to anything. It doesn't have to be a sport. It could be working in Tesco's, building friendships and socializing with people, and just doing the things that's going to hopefully help you, have a normal life where you can set your own goals and own targets and be the best version of you, having that self-love and that self-care. So, yeah, going through what I went through was very tough, and a lot of people don't know what I went through, so they just see me as this cocky little shit who's good at boxing. But but everyone has a story, and I feel like as I'm growing up and achieving these things, or I can talk about it, I can reflect on it, I can sort of like just be in it, try to inspire people really to make good decisions, or just be the best version of themselves. That's so important. It doesn't matter what it is, just to make sure to be positive and be the best versions of themselves.
Champ, it's powerful. I mean, it's very, very, very powerful what you said, and so many things you touched on there, from power of association, who you hang out with, to discipline. There's so many things, and the mentality, and I absolutely love that, because it does show people that it's possible, to come out of that situation, and not just physically out of it, but to actually make it out of that situation on the inside of you as well, and actually live a good life, and really make some changes. So it's a powerful message. Now, we'll get into the fighting in a moment, but one thing I just want to sort of quickly hone in on there. Obviously, if people want advice, somebody who's going through this sort of situation like you went through, or they've been through it, or they don't know what to do with it, and so forth, any stage they're at, really, they can contact you on social media. I know you're very open, very easy to find, and very accessible. And obviously, if they're local to us in Wales, they can come to your academy. If there's anyone who's further afield, because when I promote this, I'm going to try and get it out there, around the UK and overseas as well, to sort of share your story. So if there's anyone who's further afield watching this, what would be a little bit of advice that you'd give them, if they've been through a tough time, if they're, well, like I say, at any stage, if they come out of it, whether in it, whatever, maybe 2 or 3 things, that would help them.
Do you know what the reality of it, sadly, is that people who've been through similar things that I've been through, they end up being ill. They're mentally ill. So, it's like me giving these inspirational talks and seeing I can emphasize it. So people, sympathize and emphasize, and it's 2 different things. Like, so I get a great opportunity to emphasize with these people, but yet, it's just having that professional help. Really, it's finding that go-to person who and you trust, and then making those decisions by having that professional help. And it's sad, because as us men, our egos can stop us having that help, and because especially when we have children, our children look to us adults as we the help, we're strong, and we have to portray that to them. But you know what is the biggest learning curve for me growing up was showing my vulnerabilities, is showing that you can be vulnerable. And it's just, like I said, it's having that good support around you. And we live in such a negative world where people have always got something nasty to say. So, who do you trust? So, people, like you said, when I was telling my story over the last 2 years, from the bare knuckle side of things, with the podcast, etc., I had so many people message me, and I was quite shocked, because I touched a little bit on my past in little interviews, and I was just like, I didn't want to go into too much depth in it, because, some of my background is quite savage. So, I think people would have been maybe upset by what I was speaking about, or might have saw me differently, because it's private, isn't it? But for me, it was just like, when I started talking about it a little bit more, like the feedback I had of so many random people. And it's, believe it or not, I even had my past foster brothers and sisters I haven't seen for years. They were saying, Dan, like one of the girls I knew when I was a little kid, I haven't seen in about 20 years. And she just sent me essays. She broke it out, and she's seen the interviews. And she said, Dan, that's so inspired me to still be the best version of me today. And I just thought, and it was great to see someone like yourself as well, who've been through the care system like me, who then went on to get married, had children, had a family. So it was just like, for me, it's like any role models you have, like, it takes 2 seconds to drop a message and slide into those DMs. And, if they say who they really are, they'll always interact and write back, and give you some advice. And if anyone wrote to me and dropped me a message, I would never not reply. I'd always reply, and and share my love and my gratitude on where they are in life right now, and we can converse in a conversation, hopefully that it can inspire them to be the best version of themselves again. And like you said, I'm not hiding the fact there's not going to be obstacles. There's always going to be obstacles. I'm positive, and I'm productive, and I'm on it every single day. But I have my days, I have my obstacles, I have the days where I feel like I feel alone, and in boxing is probably the most loneliest sport in the world. You have more bad days than good days in boxing, but when you do have that good day, it takes away all the bad. So again, my advice to people is, like, if you're not feeling well, have that professional help, or speak to that role model or someone you see who inspires you. And I'm hoping that can hopefully then keep them focused.
Mm. Absolutely, absolutely. It's some powerful lessons there again, Chapman. I know. I mean, this is honestly, and I'm not just saying this, because it's you or anything, but this is honestly exceeding the expectations I had. I mean, I knew this would be a good interview, but some of the, getting into some of the deeper side of things is brilliant, because it has, it really gives it that meaning for people out there who are going through a bad time and want to get to a good place and everything like that. It's not going through a good time. It's powerful stuff. Now, obviously, there is a lot of fight fans watching and listening, so we've got to get into that side of it now. With your amateur career, I know you started at an early age as well. We can touch on that. But what I want to get at here, we'd be here all day, I think, if we talked about everything you accomplished.
Yeah,
Because it was incredible. Boxing the best, winning all the titles I mentioned earlier, incredible achievements and medals, obviously. So I want to look at it from a slightly different angle. In your own words, what moments you were most proud of? Because obviously, from the outside looking in, we might think, oh, maybe it was a gold medal here, or maybe it was this Welsh vest here. But I've asked many world champions this question, and it's never really the answer that you expect. So I'd like to just basically, I mean, that is the question. What of your amateur career, and I know this is a big one, maybe there was one moment or one win, or maybe there was more than one, or maybe it's for a different reason. But in your own words, what are you most proud of when you look back on that time in your life now, this many years later?
Lee, it's such an easy question because, even though I've achieved so much in my amateur career, for me it's just where it all started, at the local club. Gwynfi ABC was my boxing club. My coach, John Radmore, he just had a heart of gold, and he was, again, obsessed with boxing and just taught the solid basics. And I remember I was in the British final of the championships. I beat Kieran Farrell. He's from Manchester, a real good fighter he was, and got to the final. I was there in my Gwynfi ABC shorts. It was green, tiny little green shorts, a vest with a fox in it. My green boots, they had title green boots. I looked like it was like my kit was the worst kit in the world. And I looked across the ring and I see Kieran Farrell. He had British badges all over his shorts, after being British champion. And he was an elite English fighter. I think I was only on like 7 fights, and I think Kieran Farrell had about 40, 50 plus. And I thought, oh shit, I got my head punched in the air. And I went on, and the fight was a blur, and I didn't realize, like, all of a sudden the ref's holding our hands, and the ref goes, unanimous decision, Dan Chapman. And I just, like, I couldn't even remember the fight. And I beat him very comfortable. But when I was standing there, I didn't feel that way. I felt like I lost or something. I don't know. But that was a special moment for me because, John Radmore worked so hard, and I was his first British champion. And it was just like we had a little village in Blind Gwynfi. It was just a boxing gym I opened in 50 odd years, and it was just like, that was a real memorable moment with my coach. That we worked hard for that. Nobody else helped us. It was just me and my coach, John Radmore, and his wife, Sonia. And it was just like, I remember then after the fight, there was a guy called Gary, the Ergo man, who sell Ergo's kit. And my coach bought me then, like, flashy Welsh green, white and red shorts. So the British badge that I won, the British title, that was the first badge I put on there then. And, and I had like a hood with my shorts, and it was all red, white and green Welsh colours. And it was that moment, I'll never forget that. It was such an amazing moment. And, I had amazing memories in my career, but that was the start of realising that, what, I could do really well in this sport, and I went on then, like we said, to win multiple Welsh titles, British titles again, and then beating James Dickens in the Commonwealth finals was one of my memorable moments, because James, again, was another elite English fighter. Like, he was a southpaw. He's probably one of the most slickest fighters I've ever seen as an amateur. No one could beat him. No one could lay a glove in him. And at the time, I was just part of the Team GB on the assessment. So I passed all my assessments and I joined Team GB as on the development team. And it was out to me, James Dickens, and another Welsh lad called Joe Gage. And I got picked instead of those two boys. And obviously, Carl Yafai just come back from Beijing 2008. So he was the number one. So it was me then stepping up then to challenge Carl basically on, he was the golden boy, like that Olympic team in 2008 was a fantastic boxing team. So all of a sudden, from winning the British title in Nottingham, in my local club, to going on, making a Team GB, and then in the final, me and James Dickens drew each other in the final. So I knocked the Canadian out, I knocked the South African out. James beat the number one Indian, the world champion Indian, which was an amazing fight. And then to have James then in the final of Wales versus England in the Commonwealth finals was just immense. And I knew I was up against it because he had so much international experience with Team England. So it was like, I think the score was 3-all in the first round. Then I was 5-all. Then I was one, I think it was something like 6-5. And in the last round, we were drawing. And I jabbed him to the stomach, trying to draw him into throw his left hand. So when he'd rush in, I could throw a right hand after. And it didn't score. But he thought it scored, the jab to the stomach. So he rushed in, and I hit him with a 1-2 left hook on the bell. And I beat him 8-7. That was the point. I hit him with a 3. They only scored the 1. But even today, James always drops me a message, Jazza, and says, that's one fight I will never forget. Like, it was a game of chess. It was two of us, our elbows were killing because we couldn't hit each other. It was the prop. We knew if he made a mistake, I'd make him pay. And if I made a mistake, he'd make me pay. And it came down to the final shot on the bell. So, it obviously, that's not something you're going to forget, is it? So James always messages me and says, that time, he says. But that was probably one of my most memorable fights. And after that, then we were both on Team GB and we built amazing friendship, and we traveled the whole world together with Team GB. And it was just like we said, that from fighting in Nottingham, winning the British title, to then, traveling the whole world and being part of, I was on the podium team then with Team GB. So I went from the development team, and then that was the team that was going on the bus 2012, So it was just absolutely, them two were phenomenal memories, because that's when, like I said, that's when I realized I could make it, I could earn money and do well in boxing.
Incredible. Again, Champ, it's a wonderful insight because it's a lot of things there that the fans don't necessarily see. I mean, even if people have seen the fights and things like that, some of the other aspects of the behind the scenes and people you spoke with and all these things. And obviously, I can see why their proudest moments and what some of those guys went on to achieve in boxing as well is incredible, as with a lot of guys that you fought back then. But again, it's an amazing insight into it. So obviously, your career, I think, is safe to say, we've had highs and lows here. And just to reassure our fans watching, we will get to the bare knuckle. But Dan's story is so amazing. We're going through it step by step. Now, I do want to touch on this because obviously the Olympic dream that you were aiming for, in the end, didn't come to be. And I know you've spoken about this a lot. And I know that, funny enough, this part of the story, a lot of people will probably know. Even if they didn't know about your background, they probably know about this, as in why you're in bare knuckle. But I want to give it a quick mention because it's a part of your story. Now, again, it's not to dwell on a negative. I'm actually more interested in how you bounce back from this than what happened. But obviously, we need to brief anyone who doesn't know on what happened. So the accident that changed the course of your life forever, I think it's safe to say. Could you walk us through what happened in that event, please, Chapman?
Yeah, do you know what, Liam, right? It was mad because when I was part of Team GB on that final year, I signed the weight with Ron McCracken at 51 kilos. So when I went from development team to podium team, I'd already been at 51 kilos for about 3-4 years. Like, I was untouchable at 51 kilo. No one could beat me. I won everything. And at the age of 17, 18, from training twice a day to 4 times a day every day, that was like my body was going to change. And like Rob was saying, you're not big enough for 50, for 54, 56. They went and moved to because the girls came into the Olympics, didn't they? So when Nicole Adams and I come on the team, and Tasha Jonas and Savannah Marshall and that, it was just like all the weights changed, and there was a big gap from 51 to 56, or well, it changed to 52 at the time, 52 to 56, and I was just like, Rob was like, nah, you can't make that weight. I was like, well, I said, Rob, it's killing me. Like, I was really struggling with my weight. So I ended up at the part, I got released from Team GB because I couldn't make my weight anymore. So I said, Rob said, you get back. If you win the senior title at 51 kilos, you'll be back on the team, blah, blah, blah. Sorted. I was like, I'll be back, I said. But it won't be 51, it'll be 56. So that year, at the clinical time of my career, like, the whole world got ripped apart by just being released from Team GB anyway. I was like, how am I going to get, like, it's the final year, it's 2011, like, But like you said, the opportunity came, where the senior championships come up. Anyone who qualified, whoever won the Welsh Championship, senior championships that year, would automatically qualify for the Olympic box-off. So I went on then, won my semi-finals, went on to beat Jay Harris, hammered Jay Harris in the final, senior finals. I think I beat him about 15-0, I think I beat him. And then Wales put another obstacle in my way, saying, well, Sean McGoldrick at the time just won the senior Commonwealth Games, and he didn't enter the championships, and I knew what was coming. I knew it. And I was just like, well, we all had the letter. Whoever won the seniors would automatically go. So they done a massive showdown of me versus Sean McGoldrick then. And again, he was the favourite because he just won the Commonwealth Gold. And I went there, and me and Sean had a fantastic fight. Sean is a great fighter. He's they call him the silent assassin for a reason. He's a quiet, me and Sean, again, we know each other inside out. For the Commonwealth Games, I sparred with Sean because I was at the lighter weight, or just come on to the 56 kilo program with Team Wales, and I sparred with Sean all the way through to the Commonwealth preps, and I knew I could beat him. So when it came to bringing that out, when Colin Jones said, look, you're going to have a box off to go to Olympic qualifier, I said, I don't mind fighting him. I'll fight him any time of the day. But that wasn't what we all had the letter from the WABA saying, wherever one of the seniors would go. But I didn't care. So I said, you know what, let's go. Let's get it on. And me and Sean had a fantastic fight. I beat him quite comfortable, but it was a fantastic fight. And that night, Joey Cordina fought Zach Davis. It was the same thing. And that's how we end up, that was his journey then with Joey, being part of Team GB. And look at where Joey just excelled since then, hasn't he? Unfortunately for me, that didn't happen because I was going to, it would have been out to me and Luke Campbell, who would have gone to in the World Championships in Baku. So the week before Baku, I came home. I literally just said, I like my motorbike. So I had a motorbike on the road. So that was my traveling thing, because having a car that age was so expensive. So I had a little motorbike. It would take me here and there. And I was in my local area. And I was literally only going slow. There's a car that came really fast behind me. So I looked around. And as I turned back round, I clipped the curb. And I hit the steel girder. And it was a fatal accident. I broke both my legs. I broke my femur, broke my collarbone, my hands. The handlebars went through my hands. The bones come through my legs. Everything it was a bad accident. I nearly died. And that was tough to chew, because after all the operations that I had, I had all steel rods in my legs. The doctor said I'd never walk tidy again, even though run or train again. So when a doctor tells you that, even I've always been realistic, Liam. So I've never been a dreamer, So when the doctor told me that, I 100% believed him, because he's the professional, and the state that I was in, Liam, it was such a bad state, it was just like, I genuinely believed that I'd never even walk tidy again. I was in a wheelchair for so long. And in that time of coming back, it was just like, I've done cardio all my life, boxing, running, sprinting, strength and conditioning. And coming back was just mentally draining, because my body just never looked like it was going to heal. I walked with a limp for about 3 years, and, it's taken me 8 years, well, since 2012, And only these last 2 years, my body's been in a position where I can fight again. And, and still my body isn't 100%, I train, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I look after my body. I keep myself fit, but that's the reason that was the success of my body coming back to fight, So unfortunately, in the boxing world, most fighters have camps. I don't have a camp. I'm always in camp. There's no such thing as a camp to me. When I start my camp, I'm already on my weight. I'm already fit. I'm already ready. So all that camp then, realistically, as they call it, it's just me sharpening my tools. So, in the world of boxing, boxers, unfortunately, when they're out of camp, they put the weight on, they go on the drink, they mix with the wrong people, they make shitty decisions. So when it comes coming back to camp, half of the camp is making weight. And at the end of the camp, they still try to make weight because they've been so undisciplined. So for me, it was, even though I wasn't an athlete anymore, or part of the Team GB or part of the Team Wales, it was a thing for myself. I had to do it for myself. I just wanted to see what I could do. So I went into weights training first. I started doing all weights training, building my muscles back up. And then, I went up to watch this BKB show one time, and my mate said, "Come up and watch it." Yeah, savage. I was like, "Beat bare knuckle." I was thinking, oh, I don't fancy that, because I'm amateur and pro all the way, and so I went up there, and I just remember seeing like these teeth flying out of the ring, and like, people's eyebrows left on the canvas. I was like, fuck, this is savage. So I was just like, and then my mate knew the owners of bare knuckle and of BKB, and he already put in a good word about me, and I didn't have a clue. So I already then, in the meantime, started doing a bit of bag work. Like I was punching the bag with a limp, so I only started doing some bags and a little move around in my local gym. And, you know what it's like, I thought, oh, I got the bag back. Like, I love it. I didn't think I was going to box. But then my mate goes, oh, Dan, bare knuckle want you to scrap. Like in 2 months, they've got a show on in London or two. And I said, they want you to fight. And he said, well, it's too late. I've already matched you up. I was like, what? So I think, oh, shit. Yeah, I was thinking, I ain't going to say no, let's go. So, yeah, this is mad, right? So I didn't tell a soul about this fight. Nobody knew I was doing it. So I trained in my local gym, just doing some bag work. So all I was doing was bag work. And I got to the fight, and I knocked this guy out in something like 90 seconds. I think I hit him with a jab. I could hear his nose snap. I was like, oh, and I could feel it, like, because my hands are bad. My hands have always been quite sore from boxing, because when you know how to punch, and you punch in skulls all the time, your hands are always going to be in a bad shape. But after that fight, Lee, I was like, I had the bug back. I was like, I love it. So in that meantime, I was still nowhere near, the fitness that I was. I mean, like, I was just doing some bag work. That's all I was doing here, and a video went out to my fight, my first bare knuckle fight, and it went viral. Like, I had messages from promoters. I had, like, mad big companies asking me to come back and fight. BKB wanted to sign a contract with me, and I was just like, oh, it's a bit much. Like, I didn't tell anybody about this. I didn't want anyone to know. So I, with my wife at the time, she was fuming. So obviously she didn't agree what I was doing. So I was just stuck. Like, I was in a position, right, where I was just like, what do I do? What the friggin' heck do I do? And, I tried every gap. I tried everything in the sun. I changed jobs. I work with children with disabilities, with behavior, because I love doing that. And I thought it'd fill the gap, but it just, nothing was filling the gap, Lee. And it got to the point then where I just thought, look, I gotta open a gym. Let's see if this fills the gap. So I started opening a gym. I had this little pigeon hut, it was just freezing in there, literally, it was a shithole, but I made a shithole become very successful. We turned this little container, and I started doing fitness classes. I started training a little bit more to feel my body getting back in a good place, and I started doing my sparring then. So some of the boys would have fights coming up, and like Lee Selby would have fights coming up, and I'd go over and do some sparring with Lee, and now, to be fair, like, when I was sparring with Lee was the IBF world champion then, and me and Lee were going toe to toe in sparring, and And it was fantastic because I had a great relationship with Lee, and I thought, if I can help Lee in any way, why not? If I'm not back boxing, let's see if I can just help people with sparring. Like, so I was always chucking myself in with the best, nothing other than the best, and I thought, fucking hell. I was just thinking, Lee, like these boys I'm sparring against, they train in full time, like, and when I'm there, like, and all the coaches are saying to me, like, Dad, like, why aren't you boxing? And I'm just like, well, I'm just taking over. I'm not really, my body still isn't 100%. Like, I'm just helping you guys out, and so an opportunity come again with a bare knuckle, and this was crazy because the weight was 76 to 81 kilos, and I'm literally 60 kilos soaking wet. But it was 10 grand on the line. So I thought, I can beat these guys. I don't care what weight they are. I can beat these and win this money. So I'm wading with ankle weights on my waist, keys and phones in my pocket. And I thought this guy, the first fight I had was James Kennelly. Like, he's 6'5", he's 6.6, 6 foot plus, 81 kilo. So as soon as I touch gloves, I was looking at him thinking, I was like, this, oh, fuck. He's huge. But he gave me a good first round because of his reach. And with bare knuckle, it's not like boxing, you can't even have the slightest nick because it just cut you open, and so I had to be so careful. And he caught me straight away. He stepped in on a jab, and he cut me, but the cut wasn't the problem. He hit me so straight in my pupil that I just seen about 10 of him. So I just closed my eye and I just took the fight to him, and I dropped him twice or 3 times. I dropped him. I totally hammered him in the end. But yeah, that was when I realized is that I'm just going to do bare knuckle full time. I love it because the setup that they got there was phenomenal. It's a growing sport. It was, it was at the London O2. The crowds were immense. I was having all the TV coverage, and I thought, wow, like, what a way to fast track myself. If I do want to turn pro, or if I felt like it, if I wanted to, then it would have been a great foundation to get my name back up there. Because Dan Chapman was forgotten about, Liam. I was in the dust. You got your Joe Cordina, Sean McGoldricks, you got all Liam Williams, all the fighters I was surrounding myself. I've gone on and achieved great things as pros. So I thought, well, let's see if I can make a name for myself. It's just I'm back in love with the sport of fighting and boxing. Let's just see what I can do. And I thought any money I earned from bare knuckle, I could invest in my gym. Mainly, that was the reason. That's why I wanted the 10 grand, was to invest back into my gym. So yeah, and then I signed a contract with BKB, and then I went on and I just went on to beat everyone they threw in front of me, really. So I fought Spence. I ended up beating Sean George, who's had over 20 bare knuckles. He was a former world champion. He's tough, as hard as nails. I defend, and again against a all-Wales showdown, the first one. And people don't realize, Lee, I'm fighting these guys. They're like 2-3 stone heavier than me. Like, I was eating my last fight, Lee. I was eating 8 to 9 meals a day. Like, I even had an all-you-can-eat the night before, honestly. But I have to fight these guys because nobody wants to fight me in my weight, a 63, 64 kilo. So going on to win a world title in bare knuckle, a weight's way bigger than me, was just I was buzzing about it, and I was so happy because, again, it was another great platform to show people my personality, my identity, and my skills, Lee. I feel like I'm a better fighter now than I've ever been. It's just my body isn't like what it was. I'm falling apart. If I was an horse, Liam, they'd shoot me. But I mask my injuries. I don't complain about it. I just get on with it. Anything that I have trouble with, I just adapt. And a lot of people have taken interest in what I do and what I do behind the scenes. And in the bare knuckle, is I'm beating all the best fighters that they got. So they're starting to look after me in bare knuckle. So for me, it's just now, like, 2 seconds. It's just for me, Liam. It's just what do I want to do with my career now? And for me, it's like, again, it's me winning a world title. Realistically, I don't care about a belt, Lee. I don't care being a world champion. It's just like it got my name out there. Got some great sponsors on board. I had like Wheels of Watches, Celtic Iron, big companies, taking interest in what I do, and it's just great for the gym. And again, that's going to attract more people to come to DC Boxing Academy. There's more people I can teach and give my knowledge to. So, moving forward, I'd like to get my pro license. They've offered me to fight out in Miami with BKB, so that is, an option. But for me, it's been mad. I've been thinking the last couple of months, Lee, the Commonwealth Games is only in Birmingham in less than 2 years. So for me, it could be an option of me going back as an amateur and fighting for the Commonwealth Games. That's something that I think I'm realistic. I think that's something I could achieve. So, again, being a coach and a boxing coach and a teacher, a fighter, that would be great for Team Wales, great for Wales itself. So I feel like I've got the ability to do it. It's just like you said, it's about deciding what decisions that I want to do. So, moving forward, I think that could be a fantastic option, is going to the Commonwealth Games. And I've got a long, long way to go there. I still got to, earn my place. I got to see if the WABA will accept me back first. So we'll see. Future's bright.
The future is bright indeed, absolutely. Well, Champ, I mean, again, it's an incredible run through of your achievements, obviously not only in bare knuckle, but also the future plans as well. And I'm glad we covered that all in one, because obviously that was one of my questions, the future plans. But it's really good that we got that in there, because then the fans can sort of know where to expect you to turn up next. And obviously there's different options and, these different things. And personally, just on a personal note now, seeing you fight in bare knuckle again would be amazing, but seeing you fight with the gloves on would be equally as amazing. So whatever you choose to do, I think fight fans all over the place will support you fully. And that, that's definitely something that's very important. Now, one of the last things, really, because obviously we've covered a lot here, we've gone in depth. So one of the last things is obviously that as a question itself, in terms of people who've supported you, people who've stood by you, people who've believed in you, because I can imagine, when you were out of the game for a while, people never expected you to come back and all this.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't pay any attention to what people say about people, but I'd imagine that was the case. But obviously you did come back. You proved a lot of people wrong. You probably proved some people right, etc. And who has stood by you genuinely now. So if any of those people are watching this, because we've covered things with people who know you, people who don't know you. Hopefully, it's a bit of both. But for the people who do know you, they've supported you. They're watching this. What would you say to them? Just like if you had any final words for the people that have stuck by you through thick and thin. If you get what I'm coming from.
Yeah, do you know what? I think this is why I love to give back, because my goal is I want to work with top pros. I want to work with top amateurs, and us fighters, we know how to fight, we know how to box, but what they don't know mostly is they don't know how to build a foundation with their social media. They don't know how to build a solid team to help get sponsors on board. And you look over the years, Liam, of all these, we've had some fantastic talent come out of Wales, haven't we? And we've seen them just slip and just disappear. And the reason behind that is because these fighters only know how to fight. That's it. So for me, it's me also showing these young guys and adults and children that, it's really important to build a solid team. The best fighters in the world, like Mayweather, Gervonta Davis, Garcia, Lopez, they all have fantastic teams, Lomachenko, fantastic teams. And you've got to understand, you can't change something that's working, Don't fix something that's not broke. And for me, it's all about making sure that I have a solid team. I have positive people around me. And yeah, I know a lot of fucking people. I mean, a lot of people. I have associates. I have friends I can go out and have some fun with. I can have friends that, I catch up here and there. But, the ones who stick by you and who are there through the thick, the thin, the good, the bad, the ugly, they're the ones who I appreciate. It's not the ones who drop you a message when you're doing well. It's the ones who are there, who've seen you go through the obstacles, pushing your boundaries, blood, sweat, and tears. And like you said, boxing is a lonely sport. So, for me, it's all about teaching these young fighters to build their platforms, build their social media, because otherwise they'll get eaten alive in the boxing world. And most of the fighters as well, they don't get the chance to do what I did as an amateur. So they go straight into pro world. They think it's all rainbows and sunshines and rainbows, and it's not. It's a business. Before they even start, they got 60% of they pay out of their pocket without all the travel expenses and the preparations before the training. So after these fighters going through the pro game, they're fighting for nothing. And again, if you're not selling your tickets, you're fighting on a show in London. If your opponent pulls out, your promoter isn't going to replace the fight of you because we haven't sold any tickets. So you've done a full camp, and then all of a sudden you've got to know when to fight. So you've got to wait for the next bill. So that means then you've got to go to work, and then if you go to work, that means you're out to the gym. So it's just it's about me, finding out for myself. I've created a solid team. So like my coach Adrian Sharon, I got my physio, I got a kid I've employed at the gym when I'm working Oran, and I haven't got a big circle, and you don't need a big circle, but you just need the people, doing the little things behind the scenes that when you are doing your full camp and your training, that they can help you and want the best for you and genuine reasons, not because they want something out of it. It's because they genuinely want to help you. So, I thank those people, and then because of those people, I've gained fantastic sponsors and built relationships with some amazing people because of that. And that hasn't happened on pot luck. That's happened because I've created a solid team, and that is really important. And for me, is I'm very lucky that I do have my head switched on when if I wanted to work with any promoter, and I never want to be the middleman. I got enough knowledge not to be the middleman. So for me is teaching these kids just to build a solid team, build, a business mindset, because boxing will eat you alive. It's not like the amateurs where you just turn out and you box and that's the end of that. And when you're young, you have no responsibilities. You still live with your parents, half of them are. So, they didn't even know to wipe the toilet seat after they peed in it. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is as they get older as a senior, they need that help. They need that support. And for me, I've been very lucky to have that support from, amazing people around me and, my customers at the gym even, after the gym, when I go after my customers are all, full-time working mothers, like, and, they come to the gym and they support what I do, and that's my business. It's because my business does really well, then, I can give back more to the children, so, we got two full-time coaches in the amateur side there. We've got Dean Hopkins there, who's doing a fantastic job. We have Vladimir Shchenko, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's a Russian. I train his kid, Manny, a future star, I tell you, watch him. But yeah, it's just, again, I couldn't do it all by myself, Lee. So, for me, is that from all the stuff that I've gone through as a young child, with my amateur career, from the accident to where I am now, the experience and life experience that I've got is absolutely phenomenal, and I have no ego with it. I'm not, I'll do as much as I can for my community. We work with the council, we work with special families, children with special needs, all these things, I'm grateful for, because I didn't get brought up with that in my community. So if I'm not doing it, who's doing it? Do you know what I mean? So this is something I'm really passionate about. So even when I'm not fighting, I'm still a busy guy, and building relationships and, wanting good things to happen in people's lives. Because if I can do it, I know many more people can do way more than I achieved, because they have the facility there, they have the backing there, they have the mindsets and the positive vibes only around them and the association. So yeah, I know I can keep talking. Yeah, I'll talk for Wales, but yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's just, it's really good to see someone just wants to take a little look into my life and what I do day to day, because I live my life in the fast lane. I don't play victim. I'm a survivor, and I'm just always pushing forwardly. And that's my advice to everybody.
Amazing. Once again, amazing. Absolutely so much covered in there, champ. I love the bigger picture because, the one thing to highlight there, because like for so long I've said the same thing, that other aspects of the fight game are overlooked, with the business side, definitely with the business side being overlooked, the mental side, often having the right mindset. So many things, as you say, they just know how to fight. They're super talented, but there's a whole package. It's got to come with it in life, in business, everything like that, to do well financially out of the game and to be happy in the game as well. There's a lot of things. So I absolutely love that. But yeah, I'm gonna put this. The way that you are as a person really comes over. It's a really tangible thing. How humble you are, how you want to give back, how you've got this vision for the bigger picture for the long term, of your career and many other people's. It's just wonderful. It's a powerful, powerful message. So all I can say, champ, is a big thank you. And when I said it's exceeded my expectations, I really do mean that. I don't say that to everybody. Now and again, it does happen. So I have said it to people, but I'm definitely saying it to you because it's really exceeded it. So once again, big thank you for coming on, and it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Absolutely welcome, Liam. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.